Already.
Yeah, some of this. Oh.
It's been more than talking about. Maybe a fun show. Yeah, they were. Here it goes, Springfield, where that was
I actually ate a little bit earlier. Yeah, and then I'll probably snack some more after. A little hard for me to, wow, y'all are learning. So.
Yeah.
So. Voters.
Yeah.
They were fun with that. Well, that's the one I can. Maybe I'll bring that.
And they said.
Oh, you gotta just sit here and watch us eat?
Started just in just a second.
Yeah, before we got to Wichita.
We did talk a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, please do continue eating, getting food, whatever you need to do, and I'll go ahead and get us started here. Any prayer requests today?
Laura Borgham,
Yes.
surgery at 12:30.
Other prayer requests?
Traveling blessings for my family. This week.
Yep. Any other prayer requests? Let's pray. Lord God, Heavenly Father, your mercies are new to us every morning. And we thank you for the multitude of ways in which you bless us. Today, we ask that you would have mercy upon Laura Bortnam, grant skill and attentiveness to those who are involved in her surgery today and recovery. Bless those who are traveling, that they would be able to do so safely. And bless John, that he would be in his right mind and be well served and of good, loving service to others as well. We ask this for the sake of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. So today, we're gonna sidestep our Hamas study for right now because I've been too involved with another situation that's going on to be able to give adequate preparation, and that other situation is actually worth talking about. And so we'll do that here today. Who all was in second service on Sunday? You all. Okay. We had a gentleman, you might have noticed, sitting up in the front row lectern side. He goes by John. It's not his actual name, but that's what I continue to call him. So he is homeless, and right now we've got him at a hotel. So we're just waiting for a bus leaving down to Omaha tomorrow night. I've been working with him and with the police this week, and that's kind of just the overview of what's going on and where we're heading with it. So John got dropped off somehow. I'm not sure exactly how that was, but got dropped off in Brookings on Saturday night and slept at a casino apparently in town, and then somehow found Mount Calvary. Probably the most surprising fact in all of this is that he found Mount Calvary to come to rather than the Methodist Church on 6th Street or something like that. You know, we're kind of tucked back here. That's probably the biggest mystery in all this for me. But hey, someone found Mount Calvary, so that's good. You know. So he came in, I'm pretty sure he came in through these doors, came downstairs, found our library, browsed for a little bit, grabbed an armful of books. This was at the beginning of the Bible study hour, probably about 9:30 or so. And then he came into the LSF room where I was teaching the high school students at the time. I asked to, you kind of recognizing a bit of what was going on, and kind of just asked him generally, what his name was, where he was from, that sort of stuff. And then kept going on with a Bible study. He chimed in a few times, generally pleasant. He's a self-proclaimed pastor, preacher, man, sort of thing. After our Bible study was over, he wasn't getting up, and I sat there talking with him for about 5 more minutes, asking a few more questions. He asked if he could have the books that were from there in the library. I said, sure, that's fine. He asked for a bag for those books. And so I used that opportunity to go out. I saw Micah Worm. And so I said, hey, we've got a visitor in the LSF room here. Please don't let any kids in. I walked around, got a couple of trash bags, and then I saw Kyra. I told her something similar. Guy with some sort of mental handicap. It's in the LSF room. Please don't let any kids in. I then kind of wrapped things up with John, excusing myself to come get ready for service. Stopped by and talked with a couple of the ushers, letting them know what was going on, asking them to keep an eye on him. I think Kyra helped him to get upstairs, and between them and the ushers, they took care of his coat and helped him get a seat in the back row. John then wanted to sit up in the front row, and so he and Bob Milbrandt, our elder on duty for the day, sat up in the front row for the service. And that was fine. There were a few times that he went out and the ushers kind of kept a little eye on him. But otherwise things were good. Afterwards, we had him down for our LSF meal. Figure, a free meal would be a good thing for someone like this. And then Pastor Worm took him over to the Sunshine Inn, and we paid for a night there for him. I go over Monday morning to see how things are going. First, I stopped by the police station to see what's the best way to help him, and especially get him somewhere that has more resources for homeless people than we do up in Brookings. Options would be down in like Sioux Falls, where they have a shelter and other resources, counselors and things, or Omaha would be another, which is where we ended up going with. So they were aware of John by that point. They had kind of figured out his real name, and he has a little bit of a prison record and some run-ins, that sort of stuff. And so I went over and Rhonda was there. I also had her look into the bus schedule. And so Thursday night is when the first bus comes through because of the weather. So I didn't book a ticket yet, but that was still kind of the plan. Went over to the Sunshine Inn, talked with him and with the lady, the manager there as well. She speaks Urdu. I think she's from Pakistan, maybe. Doesn't speak a lot of English, but she's able to use her phone to translate it a little bit. She's doing that today. But on Monday morning, John was more aggressive than he had been on Sunday. Sunday, he was fairly relatively quiet. And by aggressive, there's nothing physically violent that's happened at all in my interactions with him. But he'll kind of talk and get in your face a bit and raise his voice a bit. That's just kind of the way that he communicates. And he talks about the things that he's passionate about. A lot of it is kind of scripture, and evil is bad, wickedness, that sort of stuff. So I talked with him a little bit there, talked with the management. I go to get John some food at Casey's, bring that back to him quickly, and then he's in the office with the manager. I try to get him back to his room because he is being a little bit loud and aggressive. So I say, John, I've got some food for you in my car. If you go down to your room, I'll be there in just a minute to give it to you. I wanted to be able to talk to the manager in private. I asked her 3 times if she felt safe, which was of the utmost importance in all this. She did. I could tell she was a little bit hesitant. Fair enough. took John some food, told him that I'd bring him some groceries later that afternoon. I come by in the afternoon and I'm trying, I think by that, actually, yeah, when I come back, the police are there. They've been called for kind of disorderly conduct sort of stuff, just because he is loud. And he was going around to the different doors of the motel, knocking on doors, asking for money and cigarettes, basically. So I talked with the officers, kind of explained how I've been involved and that he tends to be fairly calm when I'm there. And so I go and talk with him and deliver him groceries and talk with the manager lady again, you know, clarifying and getting her story and everything like that. That's Monday afternoon. And then the police kind of warned him to, you know, try to keep to himself and not be harassing people. Yesterday, I was up in Millbank at Winkle. I get a call about a little bit after lunch from the police saying that John is over at the Presbyterian church in town. I found out today from officers that he was in there, he was playing the piano and lighting candles, and there were just one or two people in the building and they didn't feel completely safe, and so they called the police. And so the police called me and asked if I would be able to take him to like Salvation Army, help him get some stuff and maybe some more groceries. They explained that apparently an anonymous donor gave a bunch of the police officers single $100 bills to kind of pass on as people have need. And so they offered one of these to help them get some clothing and stuff. And I wasn't in town, so I asked Dale to do that, and he went to with dollar store and Goodwill as well. He's got his own stories there from that, but just kind of more of the same. I didn't hear anything after that yesterday. Today I go over, today I get called by the person who's living in the room next to him, person who's staying there, saying that since 3 a.m. John has been kind of yelling and loud and banging on things, disruptive. And so I tell him, he got my number because I gave it to the manager. That's how he got my number. I say, go ahead and call the police. I'm also going to go ahead and drive over right now. So I do that. I talked with a couple of police officers there for probably 15 minutes, just kind of filling each other in on what we can talk about. With they can't tell me everything, which is fine. So I get a few more details. I explain kind of what I've noticed about John. I explained that I don't find him to be violent. I haven't seen any weapons, anything like that. He's just kind of aggressive. And in body posture. So by that point, the manager of Sunshine Inn wants him gone. There have been a number of things that he's done that are disruptive and also strange and kind of harmful, like pulling out the washer and dryer. I don't know if he like messed with them in some way as well or what, something. Broken English is kind of hard to tell, but it's been enough that she's not willing to have him there. And so police officer calls to the Econo Lodge to see if they're willing to take him, kind of saying, hey, he's got a bus out tomorrow evening at 7, you know, can he stay there till then? You know, we'll get funding for it, which Mount Calvary has been doing. So he gets over there and we get him kind of settled there. Kind of warn him to keep to himself. I say, please don't smoke in this room or else our congregation is going to get charged $150, you know, just general kind of warnings, but also kind of specific things for him to try to be good about. I get called about 15 minutes later by the manager of the Econo Lodge, saying I can't have him here. He's been harassing our staff. So I say, go ahead and call the police. I'm also going to come over right away. And by the way, that way there's multiple people who have the firsthand account, who are calling the police and would be able to give a report on that. I'm coming to kind of assist the police and to calm John down to try to figure out the best thing for him. we get over there, this is, a couple hours ago. Explain again to him that this is what this is what you've done that is considered harassment. You can't be doing this, or else you won't be able to stay here. He was surprised to hear that he might get kicked out of that place too. Again, just kind of mental mindset on things. And I haven't gotten any more calls yet. I'll be a little bit surprised if he's able to stay there until his bus comes tomorrow at 7. We don't really have a good plan for what to do in that contingency if he's not able to stay there. He hasn't committed any arrestable offenses, any that they might charge him with. He'd be able to just get out immediately. And so they don't really have a way in which they can hold him against his will until that time. I've given him a copy of the bus ticket so he can look at that and say, yes, this is the plan. There have been, and why Omaha, they have a homeless shelter down there, and they also have more resources, counselors, and that sort of stuff available as well. It's not that we're just trying to kick the problem down the road, but that we're not actually helping him right now. We're keeping him warm, but we can't do that long term, and we can't do any more than that for him. So that's been a lot of my week so far. Which kind of brings up questions about how can we best understand and help people like John.
How old is he, approximately?
50s or 60s.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah.
Does he have any medical diagnosis that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, I mean, is maybe he's not taking his meds or.
The police asked him that question. What do you do to calm down? Do you take any medicine? He said no. And again, it's all based on what he's going to say to us.
I'm just curious if maybe he's having some sort of psychotic episodes.
It could be.
Because I've had patients like that. Then I'm just thinking, can you have the ambulance bring him to behavioral health? Would that help him at all?
Right. Yeah. It seems to me that he's more of kind of low functioning, but not low enough functioning that he'd be in a group home. But he's also too aggressive to be in a group home. So he's kind of in that weird spot where there's, how do you help people?
So do we have any idea where he came from, or his history before?
My understanding is that most recently he was in Del Rapids.
Sean said that the state troopers dropped him off here in Brookings just to get him out of Moody County. They just took him off.
Well, with that, John's not willing to go to Sioux Falls. I think he's gotten in trouble there.
Is he Native American?
No, he's African American.
Oh, okay. He has no
I
family.
feel like in your conversation, he has some. Oh, great word, but opinions, when you directed, like, there's a homeless shelter in Sioux Falls that has resources that can help you. Or there's a shelter in Omaha that has resources that can help you.
Yeah.
He has some experiences with them, it seems like, where he's.
So today was the first day that I explained the reason that we got him a ticket to Omaha is because there's a homeless shelter down there. And then he wasn't so thrilled about the idea because of all the wicked people in homeless shelters.
Tell them we're pretty wicked here too.
Logic
Well,
isn't leading
yes.
the thought process. So as far as I can understand, the state trooper probably would have preferred to take him down to Sioux Falls, but my guess is that John wasn't gonna go quietly. And so rather than deal with that or I don't know what else he would do other than just take him somewhere else.
Just was wondering if like they could give him some sort of sedation of some sort, just to.
I mean,
Not really sedation, but if he sees a doctor, maybe. I don't.
yeah. I'm not sure what he would be willing to do. In his mind, his life is geared around going around preaching the gospel and saving souls. Started as a prison ministry from the inside. you will. Yeah,
He doesn't volunteer that he has any relatives or anything.
he hasn't said anything to that effect. I haven't asked specifically. It's tough to get words in,
Okay.
but he definitely hasn't volunteered anything like that. And my guess is that if there are already relatives, he's not able to stay with them. Or else he wouldn't be going around like he is.
That's why his ultimate goal is Florida in your conversations.
He wants to go to Florida.
He, Fort Myers, Florida.
Oh, great.
I think that I overheard that someone promised him a job there.
Well, better to be homeless
They're,
in
they're
Florida.
under a
than
storm
nothing.
right
It
now.
is
They
true.
don't wanna be there.
Well, I'm guessing that's not, because I think I also heard on Sunday that he wanted to go to Frisco, Texas, once he heard it.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was also talking about going to Bismarck.
Yeah.
Don't go to Pismo.
I know,
I
that
heard
is the wrong way.
Aberdeen too.
Bismarck's a little closer.
Basically, the way that we're trying to help him is to get him to a city that can actually help him better than we're able to.
But this is the second time now that we've had somebody with mental
Mhm.
issues.
Yep.
So. Yeah.
And then we'll.
So what happened
probably
to
have
that
more.
last person? Was he able to get help? That came. to-
I don't know what resolution came of that.
Okay.
We have a lot of freedoms as Americans. There's not a lot of things that can be done to us against our will unless we are breaking actual laws.
Or you have, you're not oriented, as long as he knows who he is, where he is, and what's going on. But if, once that's gone, then the police have every right to do whatever.
Okay.
I mean, not kill him, you know.
Take him involuntarily.
Doesn't the police department have somebody who'd be in charge of stuff like this?
I haven't been referred to them. When I walked into,
Maybe it's more bigger cities that have that.
probably so that they probably officers, I'm sure, received some training.
I
But
remember
I'm
when I
not
worked
sure
in
that
Sioux
there's-
City, We had a special cop that
Yeah.
dealt
Right.
with the patients we had like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's a caseworker or something.
Being on the interstate, we really should have somebody like this. They have a lot of people dropped out.
We find this week, there's not a lot of resources
Right.
available, you know, where.
The local Salvation Army doesn't have housing. It's basically like a management office, but there's not even anyone on staff there right now. It's just a phone number with a message right now.
Church used to do all the charity. Now a lot of that's done through tax dollars and all that. So I
Yep.
guess this is our chance to be charitable.
Right.
Difficult as it may be.
Yes,
Have other churches in town been experiencing this?
more so than us. With a homeless population that sticks around for longer, like during the summer, not when it's like this outside. Word kind of gets around what churches will give out more handouts. And it tends to be the Methodist Church and maybe the Catholic Church.
The Methodist.
Yeah.
There's a guy that sits outside all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What happens when he gets to Omaha? Is there somebody that meets him on the bus there, or does he just get out and run?
So I called the homeless shelter there this morning. They're located about a little over a mile away from where the bus will drop him off. It'll be 11:45 at night when he does get there, and so I called inquiring about this. And the person there said the best thing to do is call 911. Say I just arrived via bus. I'm freezing. I need to get to the emergency shelter, and then they'll come and pick him up. Do some kind of a welfare check first, and then take him right over.
Does he have a phone?
He has a phone. He doesn't have minutes. I'm not sure if he acquired the phone by legal means. He stole an iPad from a vendor at Casey's. And then when the police pinged it to his room, basically, he gave it up freely. His phone has a sticker on the back with information that makes me think that it might have come from an AT&T store or something. I don't know exactly. Yeah, very, very disordered life. It's hard. So. What, so, taking a step back, on Sunday, I think that we did really well. We didn't know when he came in until I saw him, downstairs there. It's very fortunate that he didn't go to one of the Sunday school rooms, because that would have changed things immediately. But he came over into the LSF room where I was teaching high school students, and the students followed my lead and kind of playing it cool. And that they were really good in that way. When during the 5 minutes after class, when I was talking with him, Gideon and another kid about his age ran in screaming and then ran back out. But otherwise, there weren't any adults kind of coming in or out or anything like that. And I had the opportunity to go and alert a few people and come back. But then I had to go upstairs. And so Kyra and the ushers took care of him from there. Things were calm during the service. All that went fairly well. There like no disruptions on Sunday. His mind and mood were also a lot better on Sunday than they have been in the last couple days.
His mood changes quickly too.
Yeah.
Dealing with him yesterday, the police gave me $100 bill to get him some clothing and some food. And it was like shopping with a 3-year-old.
Mm.
It was horrible. And then he'd be off somewhere and I'd put things back, and he got a lot of stuff he didn't need, but then we ran out of money in the end. And so
Yep.
By that time he was outside smoking a cigarette, and I just kept a running total until we ran out of money and got him what I thought he needed rather than
Yep.
what he thought he needed. And, well, didn't I get this? No, we ran out of money. Well, I need a quarter for the dryer. I do have a little change at 38 cents. And I counted it out, and I think he maybe got closer to 50, but anyway. We had money for the dryer, whatever we needed that for.
Which I'm sure it'd be $1 worth of quarters anyway, but
Yep.
Yeah.
But I didn't figure that was enough for a pack of cigarettes or a
Yep.
beer, so.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, which I saw both in his room on Monday.
well, then we had trouble getting into his room.
Right.
And I think the door was just sticky.
Yeah.
And then some guy came out of his apartment, just or room a couple doors down, and right away over there asking for a cigarette. And
Mm. Yep.
But he did ask a lot of good questions regarding God.
Mhm.
What do you think about God? And then, we discuss it, and I'm the first to admit that I'm horrible with memory, but the Holy Spirit does
Mhm.
bring this stuff to mind.
I've noticed that he's a detail guy. And he pays attention to those things. I could see those kinds of things sticking in his mind, even if the things coming out of his mouth might be unrelated.
One of the details was after the first store, well, now you're supposed to give me all that money. And then he was always talking about paying me back, and it's like, that's not gonna happen, and then, so we got out of the first store and I got called a lot of ugly names
Mm.
because I kept the money.
Yep.
And I said, no, I was told I'm supposed to get you some clothing and some food. Well, what if there's any money left over? I said, then it can go back to the church to pay for your motel room.
Yep.
And just like that, it was a switch and he was calm again. So it was exhausting.
You did very well.
Well, I prayed a lot.
Yeah.
Seriously,
That was awesome.
I was in prayer most of that time.
That was awesome. Did a good job.
I have a heart for those people, but I don't know how to deal with that.
Right.
Starts to train.
And I guess that brings up a couple things, we've had a couple instances, so. Visiting with ushers and elders and how to handle it, but. It would be interesting if there's. Some type of training or informational meeting that maybe would. Be available to more members, just because more likely we'll have something like this again, maybe.
Right.
And then how to handle it, and I'm sure each instance is gonna be different, and you do the best you can at the time, but.
Mhm.
Just curious, and then the other point is, and maybe you're planning to get to that, is, our 4 pillars and talking about mercy and, how this would. Well, so.
Our goals for him, are primarily physical at this point. That he would stay warm and he would go somewhere where he can get some help. And that's good. Not everything that we do has to, have as its main goal, the proclamation of the gospel in words. Though that is certainly our chief end in the big picture of things, not every aspect of what we do has to have that as its primary end. And mercy care is aimed at helping our neighbor in his physical needs. And that's exactly what this is.
But going with what Jean said, let's say somebody comes in, or even it could be somebody who's already here, a member or whatever. If there is some sort of emergency, whether it's medical, emotional, whatever, who do we speak to? Because we go to the pastors, you might be preaching or about to preach or whatever. So is there somebody that you'd recommend that you say, hey, we have an issue with this, or that's what I'm wondering is, you know what I mean?
Yep. We have 2 pastors, which is a big blessing.
Yes.
We don't have a lot of specific training in this. But the way that we go about things often kind of disarms people and kind of helps calm them down.
Yeah.
So whoever's not preaching, or just that sort of, and basically take whoever's not preaching. If the preacher needs to be up there for the sermon, but he can also do everything else. Second service, I would go with Sean Peterson. Police received some training for this kind of stuff. I've been impressed with working with the police in this.
And Sean was right up front with them on Sunday.
Yep.
You were right behind him. so-
Yep.
Okay, good.
And you were there. A good response from, elders, ushers,
I think, yeah,
Sean.
probably if it should go to the ushers probably first, and then, so we were watching that and. Kyra took him up to the front, Sean, which she was comfortable doing that because she knew Sean was right there. Donna texted Sean during the service to make him aware, and then I came and sat behind him on the other side, and then he followed out when he came out and went to the bathroom. Mike was down there, I was down here when the whole time he was in the bathroom.
Okay.
So we just kind of shadowed, but
Yeah.
didn't want him to know we were doing that either, because he
Right.
was very peaceful. He
Yeah.
was,
A member sent an email and said, like, just appreciated the way. We made the man feel welcome, but also kept the congregation safe, not knowing the unknowns.
Right.
You know, where it was a really fine line to not be unwelcoming to the man. But yet also keep the people in the building safe. So it was neat to see the ushers and the elders' response on Sunday. Through hearing about it.
Yeah.
And just walking that fine line that was done really well, it sounds like.
Mhm. And for coming down for the LSF meal as well, that was good. For a while, just keep an eye on things.
Is there any way we could have like care packages, like instead of taking them to the fine clothes? If we have kind of a room where we have bags with easy food that's non-perishable and.
Yeah, there was a time probably 7 years ago now, when we did an action team and put together a lot of those care packages, hygiene kits with some food in there.
Socks,
Sock,
and underwear, whatever.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Soap has a very strong smell like bar soap, so I'm not sure that I would do just a regular bar of soap in there, the way that we did, that time. But otherwise, that was really good.
Dove unscented.
Yeah, you can
Sure.
unscented.
You could do an unscented Dove soap or something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to plug for myself, but I am going to be doing a training if there's a medical emergency in church or something. Because we do have the AED, and I know a lot of people are very nervous about it and everything. I know a lot of people already have CPR training, but still, you know, and I'm gonna talk more than just CPR, like what if somebody passes out or chokes or whatever. So, but I have to have at least 4 people to sign up. That's just a little plug.
And right now there's 0.
There's right now. there's 0.
Oh, before you leave today, walk on back to the bulletin board. No.
No, I did it about, 5 years ago for the ushers, and I had about 12 people. So, I mean, I know there are people who are trained, but just,
I'm gonna be teaching a class in Pier that
I know
day,
you won't.
but
be able to
otherwise,
come, But
I would come.
So kind of related to that and kind of what Gene said, it seems like using a medical term. That the ushers or whoever kind of have to do a triage.
Mhm.
What's the situation? What's urgent? What needs to be addressed immediately? So I think that's kind of where maybe Gene is asking some kind of training so that the ushers, whoever can kind of help recognize
and I will talk about that in the training too.
okay.
The triage and scene safety and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
That will be part of it.
But that's more,
Yeah,
Medical.
I was using that as a.
No, I know
term.
what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, yeah. I'm not taking care of guns.
Yes,
So
yeah.
If you pass out, I'll help.
but like if we have someone that comes in like this, someone that comes in maybe on some drugs or
Mhm.
a little drunk or whatever, and just, you know, all the difference.
Yeah.
Situations that could arise, just. You know, it's great, you got the elders and ushers that step up and do that, but I would think. And I don't know either, where do you go to get a little bit of just overall training on how to handle
We did that before.
people
here,
in.
didn't
We did that a couple months ago with the ushers and I think elders too. That safety training,
You
I wasn't able to be there, so I'm not sure what all was involved. I'm not sure that it was addressing
that was all-
specifically
I don't think,
mental.
yeah,
that was all active shooter.
yeah,
Oh.
all related to that.
Maybe Sean could talk about it.
You know, just how do you approach someone that's, you know, because like you say, you don't wanna make them feel like they're being watched and
Right.
escalate things and,
Mhm.
you know. Like, they all said too, you know, you pray a lot and try and figure out what to say and how to handle a situation, but.
Yeah.
Just curious if there's resources out there that may help.
Yeah, I would think that the police would be able to at least refer us to someone, if not, come in themselves or something like that. That is good.
The good family service thing too, would they have a mental health? From like a counseling perspective?
Maybe. It's not the specialty of the people that I know that are down there, but they can probably access something, or else they can reach out to the Iowa
Yeah.
side or something
Yeah.
like that.
I think it's worth at least following up with them.
I wonder if they could tie that into their training, like an hour at the end. When they come.
Which time? Because they're coming both, January something, and then also LSF is having them come for
Okay.
February. Yeah. Yes.
How do are you going to call down to Omaha to see if he gets to where he needs to get to, or, I mean, these buses make stops.
Right.
He could just stop somewhere and.
Part of the difficulty will be, he uses different names, but
Yeah.
saying the guy who came down by bus last night. Yeah, I'll do that.
I was sitting behind so I could see him up front. And one time he took his phone, I saw during the service and he was holding it up, taking pictures. So I thought he was probably video, of course, my thought was, this was a stranger like that doing that. Was he casing a place for coming back later, whatever, you know, Cause he was videoing of the up front.
Right, no, I think he just liked the look of it. He doesn't seem to be planning mischief. It's more opportunistic stuff, like the iPad.
Yeah, I think he actually, that was during the sermon, and I think he actually took a picture, because I thought it was video as well, because he was moving it back and forth, but then he got it on Pastor Worm, and I heard the noise of it, so I think he just took a picture.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be concerned about that for this particular guy in this instance. And otherwise, I mean, there are easier ways to figure out the layout. I mean, you can go online and figure out the layout from our videos.
What time is the bus leaving tomorrow?
7 p.m.
You gonna have help?
Yep.
Is the police involved with that?
I'm checking with Sean. He's got to talk with his chief to see whether he would be considered going as my friend or in the role as a police officer, which would affect liability should anything happen. So he'd be going plain clothes for sure. But he's got to check that. But otherwise, someone, yes. If he's not able to, I will be calling you. Or Bob Milbrandt or somebody. Nate Mill would be a good one, yeah. You sit in the back of the seat.
He
Hey.
didn't ask to, can I stay with you or, you know, he didn't ask if he could stay at your house or anything, did he? I mean,
No, but Pastor Worm took him to the Sunshine Inn. He was asking about a place to stay, but he didn't insinuate that it should be in our home. He asked for like I set a number of boundaries. Monday when I got there, and he was more agitated, aggressive. I said that I would bring him some food. He said, "Well, can I just go with you?" And I said, "No, I'm not going to have you ride in my car." At that point, he said, "Well, you don't trust me," and I just said, "You're acting kind of strange right now," and just kind of he let that stand. Haven't given him any cash, and I refused to do so. He's asked several times. But setting boundaries is important, and he seems to be respecting those.
He asked if he could smoke in my truck. No.
Yeah.
Then we had a discussion about alcohol.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Yeah.
But he asked good questions.
Yeah.
You know, in between the other stuff, that's.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he was in and out, so.
Yeah.
Pastor, are you gonna ride to Omaha with him?
No,
Oh.
no, would have put him on a bus. Yeah, the reason that he's not gone yet is because there's not a bus coming through till Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, on the bus, when he gets off.
Oh, no. No. I'm just hoping that he gets on the bus. Because that's the cutoff point for us. For offering, I think, any assistance. And make that clear to him so that he makes the right choice. Otherwise, he'd be drifting by the hotels out there. Which, I mean, the police would get called again, and yeah. This is as much as we can do to help at this time. No, it would be great if a bus had come through on Monday and I could get on there, but it's snowing.
Is it because of the weather that it's not till Thursday?
So I think, well. I think there's a bus that goes up to Watertown, maybe further on Tuesdays. And then the bus going south comes down on Thursday. I think that's what it is. And there's just not enough demand to do it more than that. And it goes to Sioux Falls and then further.
So the bus, this one from Elm Hall will stop in Sioux Falls.
Yep, and two
Is-
other smaller places.
Okay, so there's no guarantee that he won't get out at Sioux Falls
It's
anyway.
true. They have more resources there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. It's not where he wants to go, but yeah.
When I was talking with the police, they explained that they don't have any funds or vouchers with the bus companies right now because when they put someone on a bus to go somewhere where they can get better help, whenever that person refuses to get off, but just rides it back up, then the bus company cuts off the police from being able to do that.
So will the bus driver know the situation?
Maybe, I don't, it depends. He claims he doesn't have an ID on him. And they ask for ID, like they say that it's required. So I'll be there to have the conversation with whoever asks. And hopefully that'll be sufficient. The police will also be around, but I can call in to explain.
Well, the bus driver is likely to inquire if he sees a policeman, but if it's plain
Right.
clothes.
So
he
we're
won't.
gonna try not to have
Yeah.
the police presence be obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping that they'll just be like in the hotel parking lot or something.
That would avoid a potentially antagonistic situation.
But the police are stuck because they can't hold him involuntarily.
Right.
He hasn't committed crimes, which would require that.
And right now, we're really their only resource to help them.
Yes.
They have no other resources to help the man.
And realistically, he would start going around to different churches. That seems to be his thing. Maybe I should email the ministerium.
Well, it does raise that it's not just a church's problem, it's all churches' problem, it's a community problem really that
Yeah.
needs to be addressed and how we deal with these people that are gonna continue to pop up.
Yep.
What resources should we have in place as a community, as a ministerial association?
And there are or were funds available. We'll get people calling here asking for a gas voucher or something like that. Half the time when we say that you'll have to stop by the police station to run a background check as part of it, then that they just hang up or whatever. But those funds, I think recently weren't managed very well, and so there's not really money in that pot right now. That's my understanding.
The neighborhood, isn't there something called the neighborhood?
My neighbor,
My neighbor,
Yeah.
I knew it was something like that.
which is linked with the ministerial association, and that's where we contribute $600 a month, which was the minimum recommendation a decade ago or more. For a contribution from each church. And with my neighbor, then there's a number that you call that they set up an appointment. There's some kind of interview with someone who deals with this all the time, and they figure out next steps.
These are tough.
Yep.
Be praying for you tomorrow.
Thanks. Probably more today too, I would imagine,
Today.
honestly. I mean, like, I really don't think he's gonna make it till Thursday without getting kicked out of that place. I was kind of surprised that he made it as long as he did at that one. On Monday already, I could tell that it was gonna be an issue that would get out of hand to some degree. Thankfully, there hasn't been violence or destruction really,
He hasn't gone, thankfully.
and no
Right.
threats of violence. The police asked that question specifically, because that would be associated with a criminal charge.
Sure.
That was one of the things that you mentioned the gun night, so. Pastor came and talked to, I was one of the ushers, and so I went downstairs and Kyra was in talking with him and. I just watched from the outside to make sure she was safe
Sure.
and then to keep the kids away, and she was very impressive with how she handled them, and she was offering him a Bible. And grabbed his bag and his coat, and she was checking. She was
Sure.
trying to check all of
Okay,
that
good.
for weapons, and then that was the first thing she told me. When we did get the talk, is that she wasn't aware of any weapon, but she wasn't doing it in a way that was obvious, she was.
Sure, not patting him
being
down.
Yeah, she did a really good job,
That's good.
so.
I was trained in mental health,
Yeah, okay, she's got
Area,
that background.
more, I
Plus she
think,
loves guns, so she
Yeah.
knows what to look for.
Well, there was a gun there, it wasn't, he didn't have it, yeah, well, I don't know if it was there, but.
Yeah, I know what you mean. though.
Yeah.
when I was up at the hotel, this last time and I got called back in, there was a worker there who said that, she has a son who's schizophrenic. And, so she was more aware of this sort of thing. But it's definitely out there.
He won't come back to the church, will he? Because this afternoon, you're gonna have all those confirmation and all that stuff.
That's true.
If he
And,
doesn't come here.
and if he does, I'll probably just have Jesse. I might have her call the police right away. Depending on what just kind of first impression of his mood and intentions.
Cause you're by yourself, cause Pastor Worm's gone.
Right.
I'll be doing the other group.
Oh, okay, so there'll be other people.
So I'll be up here, and so I would notice them.
Or just one?
Because we'll have other people in the building, we'll have these two open. There have been times when Jesse has been like locking this one, but keeping that one open. And I told Jesse when I was going up to Winkle, if he does come by, immediately call me and put me on speakerphone. And let me talk with him and gauge whether I need to call the police on your behalf or whatever it might be.
Have you ever thought about maybe getting like one of those Ring cameras at the doors or something
That's what I
during the
think,
week,
that-
you know?
Jesse's been asking about it for months.
Like if Jesse's
I would
alone
like
or
that.
something and somebody just walks in,
Yeah.
I mean, just a thought.
The reality is, like, there was a week in December, we had 3 different people come into the church asking for money. And I don't know they're in the church if they come in the store until they're standing in my office and I can't.
That's what I mean, you won't know, so if there's
Yeah.
some sort
So
of.
it's something the trustees have worked
to
on, like
think
we've
about.
asked just to have, you know, so you know who's in the building. Even when it was harmless, you know, we had 2 Gideons come, but they came and stood at my desk and like blocked me in my office, like I couldn't move. And you don't know they're there until they're there, so. The trustees are on it and I'll follow up with Steve and make sure, like, we just need to expedite it.
I think so. Just,
There was another situation in a different church in Brookings before Christmas or after Christmas where somebody stole a couple of Christmas cards out of the office. She was there asking for assistance, but ended up stealing a couple of Christmas cards and got gift cards.
oh, so it's
But they caught her on camera, you know, and had her license plate and caught her on the church camera. And she had made her round to numerous churches that week, so.
I know my church growing up, it's a lot bigger, but they have one of the ushers who has to, like on Sundays, they patrol the parking lot, they patrol everywhere and, you know, just feel, it's sad, but it's better on the safe side.
That was one of the recommendations when we had I'll call it active shooter training, that one of the ushers walked through the parking lot and just kind of make the rounds to see if there's any unusual activity going on, so.
Because anybody knows that, you know, if there's people here that we're gonna be in church and, you know. Just,
You just can't do it during the sermon.
oh, they did.
Yeah.
I did find it very comforting in that service for them to tell us that the least likely place to have a mass shooting is a church.
It does happen.
Yeah, it's,
Well, yeah, it does, but we can
Statistically,
be
it's lower.
careful,
No, I
but
understand.
have to fear it.
So we are over time. So let's go ahead and close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Thank you all.